in there. She in there.
You need another.
Yeah.
This will work if you're doing it sideways.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That front way is gonna work good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it up.
Lights, camera, action.
Oh, there it is. Can y'all see it?
What happened? What I just hit? You don't know how to work no. I don't know how to work that.
Oh, you don't know how to work an
Yeah. I ain't never had one. I mean, like I can't figure it out.
Boy, that's weird. That nigga said I ain't never had it. Yeah, he said I can't.
Well, I think I had one early. I had the first Android. I had that G1 when it came out.
Okay, so let's go. It's just,
Uh-oh.
it's some way. It's the piece.
Y'all see what time it is, man. We got the
Oh,
best
trying
water
to
in the
rig it so
world.
that.
We got the best
give
water
us-
in the world. We got the best water in the world, y'all.
Yeah, it works. Say, man, y'all ready?
We good to go. Let's go.
All right. Say, man, what's up? This is your boy Charleston White. This is another episode. I don't know what season we in. I'm lost like a motherfucker. Season 3. We in season 3. All right, this is season 3. I don't know what episode we on, but I'm gonna get it together, y'all. And marijuana has nothing to do with it. It's just this shit going so fast. But yeah, this is another great week in the episode of the game-related podcast, man. Game
Yeah,
Apply
man.
Needing Elevation. What's up with it, dude?
Say, man, y'all know what time it is, man. There's some good game gonna be spilled on the ground once again, man. Y'all know how we do it, man. Man,
See, I can't go ahead. I can't see my guest. He got them two bright lights shining where I can't see such a yeah, I can't see that beautiful black face of her. You see what I'm talking about?
I see what you're talking about.
That's all right. Put it on Dewberry side then. See if we can see it more. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
That's good. You can see it.
Can you raise it up
Raise
a
it
little
up a little bit. Yeah.
bit? Yeah, that's
Cause
much
she,
better.
right.
It's much better.
Yeah, she kind of nervous right now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what we gonna do
Yeah, it's
is
much better.
we finna break out of this nerve and let her know, man. Hey, it's time to let loose.
Yeah, she on the big stage.
We on a big stage, man. The whole
Yeah,
world
yeah.
finna be watching this.
She on the big
Yeah,
stage.
man.
So with that being said, we're gonna let our guest introduce herself. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Hello, how are you guys?
How are you do? How are you doing? Yeah, she got me nervous now. Can you introduce yourself to the audience, to the crowd, to the world? Tell them who you are, where you from, and what actually do you do?
Okay, well, my name is Toya, and I am currently residing in Southern California. I'm actually from Lake County, which is right outside of Chicago. I'm kind of from both places. I've lived like basically equally in both areas. At this time, I'm a student. I returned back to school to finish up my associate's degree in business administration.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
what's up.
That's what's up. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? They say you're never supposed to ask a lady's age, but how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, I am 40-ish.
40.
40-ish.
So you're more of a Generation X rather than a millennial.
I am right on the line of
Okay.
millennial.
Okay, got you. So where did you grow up in Chicago?
Outside of Chicago, Lake County.
Lake-
I actually grew up near Great Lakes Naval Training Base.
Okay.
That's basically how my family on my father's side got to that area.
Okay. So you were raised by dad. Was mom and dad married?
No, actually, I was raised by my great grandparents. My mom and dad were never married. My mom was a teenage mother. And during that time, my great grandmother had struggles of her own having children because she had congestional heart failure. So after having a massive heart attack and recovering, she basically asked my mom if I could come with her because, she only had one daughter and my grandmother was in California and she was modeling. So my mom was like, okay. And that's how I ended up there with my great grandmother.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you said your grandmother was modeling?
Yes, my dad's mother is a retired model.
Okay. Oh, really? That's what's up. What was it like growing up with a model?
It was, well, at the time it seemed normal, but now that I'm older, it was, I guess it was a little strange. It was different. She was there, but due to her line of work, she was kind of like a diva. So the world kind of revolved around her for a while. And, I was able to get in there somehow. She loved me, so it wasn't bad, but I can definitely tell, models are different than just normal everyday women.
Did it have any kind of influence on you once you saw her doing what she was doing? How did that influence you?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I modeled myself in elementary until about the 5th grade. And I complained about it to my great grandfather, and he said, like, this girl doesn't want to do that. She just wants to be a kid. You guys can't, live vicariously through her. Because there was a time when I really didn't have a childhood. It was just everything was consumed with modeling. Not being able to play because of, scarring, not being able to be out in the sun for a long time because they don't want you to tan. It was just a lot of, strenuous things.
So what
speaking.
So what age did you start this? Did you begin this modeling journey?
As far as I could remember, I know that by the 5th grade I was done with it. But as far as I could remember, it was always a camera somewhere around. Like it was just like constant.
Wow.
Because that was so what you saying, they were trying to mold you into be the next top model.
Yes. yes.
Okay.
What was school like? How did that have an effect on like your personality and your interaction with other children?
Well, in school, I literally went to private school all the way up until, I want to say, I think it was like the 4th grade. I went to a magnet school, which for me, I tested to go there, but it was like still a public atmosphere.
Yes, ma'am.
And the struggle that I had was that when you're young and you're a model, everybody likes you, or so you think, right?
Yeah.
So when you get older, when people don't like you, you're kind of like, well, why? I'm cool. You have to like me. Everyone else does. For a kid, it's you don't understand that that's just the nature of the business. So you think that that's just how life goes. So I got a crash course on real human interactions once I started to go to this magnet school, and I figured out, that people aren't always nice to you, even though you can be nice, and you can be, social. That's not always reciprocated.
So that's pretty keen for a kid to notice that early on in life. So it's almost like you had to transition from, you had to learn to transition in and out of these two different worlds.
Yeah.
When you go to modeling, you're catered to, you're the center of attention, and then when you go to magnet school, you have to deal with the social interactions of other children, and whether that's bullying, peer pressure, or whatever. What outlet did you have? Or was there anyone that you can talk to at that time, or was you just trying to deal with this as a young girl, going through life?
I just was trying to basically deal with it. What ended up happening was I was able to join a drill team. So in the drill team, we were basically raised to look at each other as sisters. So that really provided me like a good safety net, like, because all of us were in the drill team, we kind of just bonded with each other. Mm-hmm. So it helped me to get through life. But it definitely was a culture shock to me, especially leaving private school. It's just like the littlest things people could get upset with you for, where when I was going to private school, or doing my modeling, I guess because we were all in that group, we just didn't really notice it. But, going to public school and seeing other kids that might not be as fortunate as you, or, have different circumstances at home, you kind of become a target, and I was a target of bullying a lot.
Okay.
Now
that's what I was gonna ask too.
Was this in elementary, middle school, high school? When at what point in your school life, throughout your school years, that that you started experiencing bullying?
Bullying got bad for me leaving junior high. Now, I had fights and, different, altercations with young ladies and some of my drill team sisters, but it was I never felt like anyone really wanted to hurt me, it would just seem like little kitty things. I would argue over stuff.
And I don't mean to cut you off.
Like,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to kind of stop you there. What kind of fights do girls have walk me through elementary. Take me from elementary to middle school to what's it like to be a girl and you have a fight? What do girls fight over?
For me,
even with your drill sisters, because brothers fight, right? So, but what type of things do drill sisters? What type of things do girls in school from elementary to when you got to high school? What type of things do you guys fight over?
Okay, what we would fight over, what I noticed is that, okay, so if you're in an in crowd and there's somebody else who's not in that in crowd, say they are not in it because, they might not dress as nice as you, they might not have the boys looking at them the way that this group does, or they just don't want to be in it. Targeted, definitely because, they dare to think different. And then on the inside of the actual little groups, something like this is something that happened to me personally, and it happened to one of my other friends. We'll all say that you said something, and we all know you didn't say it, but we're going to use this excuse to be able to start a fight or pick a fight with you.
What?
And they'll pitch you against somebody that's about similar size, and say, well, you have to beat her up. So now you're trying to remember, like, well, no, I didn't say that. And once everything happened, the older girls or the girls that are the most popular in the group will say, well, yeah, I just didn't like her. I just didn't like her. So.
Oh, I thought that just happened. I thought that just happened in the white girl movies.
Nah.
Yeah, I thought that just happened. For real, that happened in real life.
No, real talk. That's crazy.
Man, poor little girls. Hey, shit.
And I know that, because I'm gonna ask her about the bullying due to the fact that with her being a model, she gonna stand out. She kind of gonna stand out more than anybody. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, she gonna have more attention on her. Everybody gonna automatically kind of focus on, hey man, who is this little girl? She's a model. She's doing this. Better not be getting dropped off in a nice car. And so that's why I say that. That was gonna be my question. If she, have she experienced being bullied? You know what I'm saying? But now by her going over there to another school, and it's still going on because now she's saying, I don't want to be a model no more. I just want to be a regular person. I just want to do regular things. I just want to meet regular people. But now the attention out there no more, right? So how was you able to cope without having the attention on you like you once had it once you was, in the public schools?
Okay, so let me say this, and anyone that I'm pretty sure is in the audience that's ever modeled, they will tell you this. When you go to perform, everything goes black. You don't see anyone in the audience. You're just there to perform and do what you do. So not every model has that era of, look at me, I'm in the room, all eyes on me.
Okay.
Most of us want to fade to black. Like I've been, told that I can shift energy, like I'm an energy shifter. But literally when I walk in a room, I don't want to be noticed. I'm like literally fade to black. I don't want anyone to see me here because I feel safer that way. When I'm on display, it feels like I give people the opportunity to kind of pick me apart, and I don't like that because there has been times in my life, and this could be my own trauma, where I've really tried to convey my feelings, and no matter how much I said things, I was still looked at, oh, you think you were better than, or, different things like that. It's like, that's never the case, like.
So you come off to me as very empathetic, very, very, a very compassionate person, right? Did you have to learn how to fight?
I did. I did, because
explain that
in high school.
Explain that. Talk about
that.
Well,
I never had a fight like at all when I was, at home. My dad, it's just my dad and my uncle, and then myself. My younger sister immediately that live with me is 9 years younger than me. So I never argued or anything, you know? And I've literally like just been around girls and they're like, why are you smiling? Like you smile too much. You're like, what in the world? And now we're bickering back and forth. And it was
Because you
started
smile
with
too
me
much.
just getting hit. And I would just take it, you know, because in my mind I'm like, well, I look at it like kind of like a whooping, like once it's over, I can just go on with my life. You know, it's no need
Oh, boy,
to,
my heart
you know,
just
keep
dropped.
going back in there.
God damn, my heart just dropped. Man, you see, you would get hit and just take it.
Yeah.
And you know what, man? That's cold.
Oh man.
You know,
Oh,
and not just by looking at her and listening to her, I can see it. Because you gotta realize that she don't have no confrontation of bone in her body.
I'm thinking about my daughter, man. My
She
daughter
have
ain't
no
never had to fight.
confrontation.
My daughter ain't
Exactly.
never had to fight.
So that's why I look at her, I look at my stepdaughter, they don't have a confrontation of bone in their body. So
And you don't want to teach them to fight.
and you don't want to teach no girl to fight.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm
God,
saying?
ooh,
So to hear your story and hear how you just got a good heart.
So
You just got a good heart.
So as coming out of a loving, nurturing environment and having to enter into the opposite, that's shocking. That's psychological. That does something psychologically, right? The first time you ever got hit, can you remember what it was for? That you took it and didn't hit back?
It was, I don't remember exactly what it was for. I know it probably was like one of the incidents of I supposedly had said something.
Yeah.
And it was a young lady, we were about the same size, and they pit her against me. And, you know, she like pushed me into the wall, you know, and at first I was trying to like resist it, you know, I was trying to like kind of fight her back. But then it was like, it kept getting like, you know, aggressive, like more aggressive. So in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm pushing against it and she's pushing towards me, it's just getting worse. So I just decided to just concede. And she hit me in my face. And I remember like, I just slid down the wall and I was crying, but I was just trying to explain to everybody, like, I did not say this. You know, and my biggest thing, I guess at the time, the hit wasn't so much as bad as me feeling like no one was believing me. And I'm like, literally, I don't even talk like this. Like, it was said, it was something so weird and crazy. That's why I don't remember it, because I don't talk like that.
And these are your peers, and you're pleading with you're pleading with your peers, and you saying, out of no girls, and y'all were friends before this, right? You mean to tell me there's nobody there to say, come on guys, this isn't right?
No, they were actually, and a young lady that they put against me, she didn't even want to do it. So it was kind of like, we were fighting each other, but neither one of us wanted to fight each other. And the crazy part about it is we walked home together afterwards, and she was, you know, we were both crying, and she was like, I didn't want to fight you, you know? And I was just like, you know, it's okay, I understand, you know. I'm like forgiving her.
Man, that's deep, man.
So you get to go back and see this what just struck in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a young lady who gets to go back home and maybe get to feel loved. You may get to go in your own room and can lay in your own bed and feel comfortable and peaceful. Go in the icebox and get you something to eat. But imagine that happening to the girl who's at home getting molested, right? And she's told some, you see what I'm saying? Imagine that just happening to the girl, and when she go home, she might get some. She's going through some more abuse. When she come to school, she's going through abuse. Does this bullying does it get worse as you progress through school, as you go through school? Does it get worse, or are you a social butterfly, or are you the kid that's withdrawn and isolated? What's the personality that you have going forward after this incident happens?
I was such a people pleaser. I just like for everybody to get along, because when everybody, you know, gets along, we're partying, we have the house party, the boys are there, you know, we get to see the how it is with young girls. You have a crush on somebody and you hope he comes to the party. As long as we're not arguing with each other, it's fun. And that's how I just wanted it to be. I just wanted it to just be fun, even if I have to pay for your friendship or whatever. So that's the type of friend I was. I'm always more concerned about what others, like, are you comfortable? You know, what can I do to help the situation? Because I started to notice that I was more fortunate. So, you know, I've even had friends where, you know, they didn't have, you know, what I had. So I would take my money, split it down the middle. Let's go buy an outfit so we could both look nice at the party. You know, so that's what I like to do. And going to private schools and not really being in my neighborhood like that and actually getting to know the people in my neighborhood in junior high, I was so happy, like, just to be outside. So I'm always ready. I was always ready to turn up, like, you know, let's have some fun, open gym, like whatever you guys want to do, I'm ready for it. You know, so I was fortunate in that, you know, but the next hurdle was that, you know, I was the last one to ever actually go to the next step with a boy. So that became a point, like, oh, you know, you don't know what we on, we grown, you still a baby, and just, you know, those, now that pressure's coming, right? So it's like, I have to do this in order to still be cool with you guys. Like, why do you guys even want to do this? It's gross, you know? That's my mindset. You know, to me, a kiss is like everything, you know, but back then it was like,
boy, hell being a girl, golly, shit.
But see, I was gonna ask that because I really want to know where did you start being able to be interactive when it come down to the male, you know, with the little boys and doing that. When was you really interactive with you know, with the males, with the boys that, you know, you grew up with?
I guess ever since I was in the drill team, I've always had guys like me, but I have been fortunate to, along my path growing up, I've been fortunate to have run into gentlemen. Like, some of the stories that I hear, some of these other girls, you know, talking about guys, I didn't experience that.
Good.
I was actually fortunate enough to experience, you know, young men that had things going on. Like, I guess I'm kind of intriguing when you talk to some guys. So I literally remember, you know, talking to my youngest son's father about, like, planet alignments and stuff. And we're in high school, you know, and he's listening to me. So I never had that whole thing. Like, when I would deal with guys, they were kind of nurturing to me. I guess maybe they saw something in me that I couldn't see. But I haven't had, like, you know, I didn't have, like, the terrible stories with guys that some of these other girls have.
I noticed you said you went home to your uncle and your daddy.
I want to say to my great grandfather, honestly. My uncle and my dad, unfortunately, they became victims of, you know, the influx of drugs into our community. So I had, you know, to deal with that with both of them. My uncle was more in my life. My dad, it took him down. But my uncle, he was more there for me. But I really think that it came from my great grandfather, because he always, like, he knew how to talk to me. He basically carved out my lane, and I knew how to stay in it. Because in my mind, him being happy, that was all. Like, if he was upset, I'm devastated. Like, I'm trying to fix it, you know? Like, if he tells me to pick up my toys and I don't, and he comes in and he's like, hey, didn't I tell you? Now I'm trying to straighten up because granddad's upset. And he doesn't get upset at me because I'm his perfect little girl. And he doesn't get upset at baby girl. Baby girl keeps it in order. So I think it was with him showing me these things and also nurturing me, taking the time out to, like, literally, I remember him writing out all of my multiplication tables on a board and sitting with me and teaching me my multiplication table. Like, that was the type of person he was to me. And that maybe is what I kind of can see, maybe that could be what it is.
Yeah. Well, you know how to identify a man. See, you know how to, your spirit knows how to connect. I get it.
So you're a genuine person. But by being a genuine person the way you are, to be honest with you, you're gonna attract the bad guys. But the bad guy that you attract they're not gonna treat you like they treat the other girls. You see what I'm saying? So you got bad guys. You got guys that
Yeah, you'll make a bad guy go good.
yeah, you'll make a bad guy go good. So when you say that you know they treated you like a gentleman,
because you can compare him to your grandfather.
exactly.
You got a standard to hold him to. The girl who has an absent father, the girl who has an abusive father, the girl who has a drunken grandfather, she has no standard but those standards to hold a man to. I don't care what her mama tell her about a man. Whatever man she sees, that's the only man, that's the only standard of a man that she can hold to anybody else. So you had a higher standard of a man to hold, so you knew how to pick one. The problem is, well, let me just say this. Where was your mother?
My mother she was still in Los Angeles, and later on she ended up going through some struggles of her own. But I will say that I didn't notice that because my mom was always just a phone call away.
Yeah.
So it was never, where even if I would call and I, would ask for her and say she wouldn't be home, like my granny would be like, oh, your mom's not here. She's returning my call within 24 hours. Like it was never, the struggles that my mom went through, I didn't find out until I was more of an adult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most women back in them days shielded their children for what they did.
Exactly.
You don't know what they did when you was just kids. Kids see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So growing up with grandfather, uncle around, you know how to pick the right kind of guys. On the flip side of that, not having mom around, you kind of having problem with the girls, how to interact with the young ladies. You're kind of socially awkward because your grandmother who you live with, she's a model. So she can't really teach you how to have interaction with other girls. She's a model, and then she's a diva model. So her standards of she don't deal with those.
Exactly. She don't deal with a lot of people.
Yeah, so
Her circle very small.
Then you got granddad that's teaching you how to think when your peer core and your peer group are all emotional people. So here you are you're sitting over here with all these emotional young girls, and you yourself is emotional, but you're being taught how to think. You're being taught how to analyze. And so here you are analyzing your abuse in the name of friendships, right? You're a people's person, and you like to please. So that means you're going to be more of a friend to most of your friends who you call friends, right?
Exactly.
When you get to high school, what's the next event? What's the next situation that happens to you that says, man, this is kind of getting worse than what it was in middle school?
Okay, so in high school, what kind of steered myself and my best friend at the time into the wrong direction is we figured out, how close Chicago was. So we would always go to Chicago. And when we would go to Chicago, we would, hang out. We would go to the Taste of Chicago, to different events. But during that time, not knowing, now knowing, there were so many predators at the time. So we were basically catching the eyes of older guys. And at that point, my grandmother was like, look, I'm not having that. Like, you're going to have to tone down and basically get it together, or else I'm going to send you to your mom. So during that time, I was also struggling with, young ladies in the neighborhood who just made it their business to want to beat me up. Like, it was crazy. It was like literally every time I would come outside, it would be like a group of kids in front of my house confronting just a bunch of mess. And the crazy part about it was there was no truth in anything that, anything they were saying. It's like, I'm with my best friend, we're hanging out somewhere else. So where is all these stories coming from? And, why is it that the minute I come outside, you guys are suddenly, because I live right next to an alley. So I would literally come outside and all of a sudden I would hear voices in the alley. And now I have a group of girls who are coming to ask me about something that supposedly happened that I wasn't even there for. So my grandmother was like, well, you can't go to public high school anymore. I'm going to put you in private school. So she sent me to private school, and I'll never forget it. This was the final straw with my grandmother. There were some young ladies, they were waiting at the bus stop for me. like to get off the bus, to confront me about something stupid that I literally had nothing to do with because I'm in a whole nother city at a different school. So how do I know what's going on at the local high school? So the bus driver, the actual city bus driver saw the girls and she was like, "Are they for you?" And I said, "I think they are," because they were, yelling my name. And we live in a small town, so we tend to know who each other are. So she recognized it. She was like, "Are they yelling your name?" And I said, "I think so." She said, "I'm going to take you past this bus stop." She was like, "I'm going to take you all the way downtown. Get on the next bus and get home." So when I got downtown, I ran to my aunt's house, who lived in this building called the Towers. It's like a skyrise building downtown. And I literally was sitting in her window. And eventually they came walking down the street. And they were, talking and everything. And I noticed that they had like sticks and stuff. So I'm like, "Is that for me?" So I told my grandmother when I got home, I'm like, "Look, I'm out of here. Like I can't do it anymore. Just send me away. Like I'm just ready to go. I don't understand, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I did, to have them so disturbed with me." And one of the young ladies that was with this other young lady, she used to be my best friend, supposedly. So I was thinking that maybe that was the situation because my best friend that I still am best friends with now, her sister was very popular in the area and people didn't like her. So they would tend to, because they were afraid of her, they would try to pick with us, like try to catch us around. So I'm thinking that might have been what it came from. I'm not for sure. To this day, I don't know
I hate
what
to say
the problem was.
I hate to say this, but ugly girls always fight on the pretty girls. So we lost her. Get her back. And we go, how. I hate to say this.
Am I back?
Yeah. Man, ugly girls always fight on the pretty girls.
That's
Very,
facts.
very few pretty girls got. Yeah. The big old Then them little girls that be mannish and fast. Them girls coming up out the apartment complex is a little bit more different. Than them. Yeah, I man, my heart is hurt listening to this story.
But I get, for real, bro.
Because for the last 12 years, there's been such a rise in the violence and aggression of young black girls. You're starting to see more young black girls commit these violent crimes. You're starting to see more young black girls who are being savagely beaten. 8 girls on 1 girl. Man, you starting to see some shit with the young black girls, and so man, my heart weeping as I listen to your story.
And
so go
but
ahead.
You know what though, man? You know what kind of get to me because I grew up in the era where you're not finna fight my girlfriend. I'm under that law. Like, this is my girlfriend and ain't nobody gonna fight her. So as I listen to your story and I asked you about when your interactions came with, dealing with guys, and the reason why I asked that because I know me, I'm under the law where I don't care who it is, ain't no female, ain't nobody gonna mess with her. It ain't happening. So that's why I was saying, like, there was no guys that stepped up and said, "You know what, man, I'm finna protect you." By me protecting you, I feel like that's how I'm gonna be able to
But she ain't messing with the gangster guys. She messing with the niggas that'll listen to her talk about Venus, Mars, and Jupiter.
Yeah.
He ain't standing up.
Wait, let me say.
But see, I listen to that.
Go ahead.
That guy, he was a gangster.
See, that's why I listen to that.
Listen. Go ahead.
Now let me say this. My biggest problem was that I didn't tell enough. I didn't tell enough people. I kind of kept it to myself. I thought it was just gonna go away. And that was my fault. Now, when I look back in hindsight, if I would have spoken up sooner, it would have been, I didn't even understand the amount of love that I had around me until I had my unfortunate event. And when I came back around, it was like, why didn't you ever open your mouth to say anything? Like, and I was just like, I was hoping that it would just stop. I was thinking that maybe,
if you listen, I can answer that. I specifically asked you, what did you tell yourself? What would you say to you when that first happened to you? What did you say to you to make you take it? And you gave me an answer. What you telling me now? The first time it happened, you gotta tell yourself something for it to happen. You see what I'm saying? Each time it's happened, you go back to the first incident that you tell yourself to kind of justify this. So that's what made me say, well, what did you tell yourself? And you said it then. You was fresh out of elementary, middle school. First time you got hit and took it. That's the answer. You don't know what to do. This in your world, this ain't normal. So how do I know to go home and talk about this? I used to tell my mother she used to send us to the country, to Longview, and my Uncle Wayne used to cook up dope. He one of the biggest dope dealers. And man, he used to have a line of people selling dope. And we be in the living room, me and my cousin be in the living room watching Howard the Duck. Man, he cooking the shit out some dope. Man, moving keys. Dope would just be laid out. We didn't think to go back home and say, "Hey, mama, Uncle Wayne was cooking this white stuff up." We didn't think to say that. We didn't think that, we didn't know that. But we could have easily got OD'd on drugs. We could have easily been molested or kidnapped because of the people he had coming through the house. You see, but we didn't think to go home and say, "Mama, Uncle Wayne was doing this." That because you don't know as a kid. And then nobody's talking to you to get the information out of you, right? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Or they don't know what to ask you to engage you where you can share as a kid what's going on in your life. So that's not on a child. It used to be at the dinner table when black people sat down at the dinner table and see that you maybe look a certain kind of way. What's wrong with you, girl? You know, as y'all eating, dad is sitting up. What's wrong with you, boy? Why your eyes red? Why you look like you're sleeping? Because you get to examine your family. We don't have that anymore. So leading up to take us to this unfortunate event that you just spoke about earlier.
Okay, so first I want to say that my great grandmother she was my saving grace. I never knew she was keeping a paper trail of everything that was happening with me, with this certain young lady. There was a young lady in my neighborhood, and the crazy part is we were friends when I was in elementary. I remember we would play together, and I always thought that we were good. So like I stated, myself and my best friend at the time, we were getting into trouble. So I moved away, and she also moved away. She went to her dad in Louisiana, and I moved with my mom in North Carolina. So after staying there with my mom for 2 years, I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son. I was 18 years old. And during that time, there's just a lot of different things going on. My mom's mom was dying of cancer, and we were just kind of like all in an uproar. So I'm used to being stable. So I called my grandmother and I'm like, "Can I come home? Because things are going on with mom, and I'm pregnant. I got all these emotions going. I just want to come home." So my grandmother's like, "Sure." So when I get home, all of a sudden I'm hearing a rumor that I'm with child by someone that is not my, son's father. It's like, this is impossible. I'm already pregnant. How can I possibly be pregnant by somebody, in this area? So I kind of just shied it off like to just gossip, right? And the gentleman that they were saying that I was pregnant by, we were very close friends, but we have never, we never dated. So I kind of just shied it off, whatever. But I was walking to the store one day, and this was when the Super Soaker guns were out, right? So I'm walking to the store, and this car pulls up on me, and all I see is like Super Soaker guns come out. So I turn my back, because this is stuff that we would do in the neighborhood. So I'm thinking okay, I'm thinking some guys had caught me, right? Some of the guys in the neighborhood. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I just turned my back, and I remember getting sprayed with water, but then I remember that I felt like a sharp pain in like the center of my back. So when I turned around and I looked down, I noticed that somebody had literally like hurled a can of USDA government beans at me. Like it was a literal can of some, like in the black and white can, the government beans.
Yeah, the rest yeah. Shit, where y'all live? Where they get these motherfuckers at?
I don't know. I'm like, who hit me with this? So when I'm looking, then I noticed I start to smell something. So I'm like, am I bleached? I have my clothes are all bleached. Like they super soaked me with a bleached gun. So when I turned and I looked, I noticed who the person was. So I was like, I'm asking her, like, I'm cussing. I'm like, why the F would you do that? And I'm glad I turned my back because I was pregnant. And if I hadn't, I would have got hit in the stomach with it. And by me being so small, you couldn't tell I was pregnant by just looking at me. So I went home, I was crying. I told my grandmother what happened. And my grandmother just immediately picked up the phone. She called the police. She told, the police everything, that was going on. And she basically pulled out this notebook and she was talking to the officer. She was like, this, happened this. I sent her away. This happened, this happened, this happened. It's the same girl, everything. So the police officer was like, we're going to go and, have a conversation, with her. So that was, basically that incident. So later on, like about a month or so down the line, I remember I was laying down sleeping. I heard some commotion in front of the house. I heard my grandmother saying, get from in front of my house with all of that. So when I went to the front porch, I'm looking out the door like, what's going on? And I noticed this young lady and, she's cursing at my grandmother. And my great grandmother, she's a church going woman. She does not, she doesn't even raise her voice. So I think because I heard her yelling in my sleep, it startled me because my grandmother doesn't yell. So I asked her, now I'm, upset and I'm just willing to just throw it all away. Like, I don't even care about being pregnant anymore. Like, if this is what you want to do, you want to fight, let's do it because you're not going to disrespect my grandmother. And I'm like, ask her like, what is the problem? And she's just like, you think you all that? And I'm like, okay, and what am I supposed to do? Wait for you to think I'm all that? Not hardly. So yeah, you're right. But I'm just, talking because I'm sticking up for myself. Like I've been in situations when I was living with my mom. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry about that.
You all right? Yeah, this nigga television, you all right?
Okay, so I have been in situations when I was living with my mother that made me have to stand up for myself. So at this point in my life, I'm like, look, I'm not getting pushed around anymore by anyone. Okay, I have the right to be. You don't have the right to come to my home and tell me what you're gonna do to me and expect for things to just go the way that they've always gone. I'm completely different. And we were arguing and I looked her in her eyes and I told her, I was like, when I had this baby, you don't have to see me for this. And she was like, I'll be waiting. So fast forward, I ended up having my baby. And by this time, my baby's like 2 weeks old. So he's like my whole world. Like I've literally forgot about everything that's been going on prior to. Like I just want to focus on, my son and getting things together so that, I can take him, back to North Carolina, to see his father. And, like those are the goals that I'm having. So I ran out of milk and I was on my way to the store with my best friend to go get some milk. And my best friend at the time was 8 months pregnant. And we're walking down the street and it was crazy because the alternator on my car went out. So I couldn't drive, so I had to walk. So as I'm walking down the street, the young lady, her best friend stayed down the street from me. And I remember my best friend saying, she asked me, she was like, do you see old girl over there? And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? I said, I'm just not gonna say nothing to her. Hopefully she doesn't say anything to me. And we'll just, go our separate ways. Like it's no biggie, So we walk past each other. I hear them saying little things, but at this time, like I said, I don't care. My son's at home. Whatever they're saying, as long as, they stay over there with it, I don't care. So we go to the store and I actually went and I killed time. There was a furniture store near the grocery store. So my friend and I was like, well, maybe if we just chill, look at some furniture. We have both, been approved for apartments. So we're like, maybe if we look at some furniture, they'll, eventually just, go in a house or something. We won't run into them anymore. So after about an hour or so, I'm like, I have to get back home because my son, I take this back to my son. He was with my grandmother. So I'm like, we're just going to take the back way back. Let's not walk past them anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking. So let's just take the back way back home and shoot straight down the alley. Boom, I'm at home. Well, what I found out during my trial is that I was being waited on at the corner of the alley in the street. So they were basically waiting on me to catch me coming from this way or catch me coming out the alley. So as I'm walking, through I'm walking, down the back street, we're talking or whatever. And I'm being mindful to keep it down. Mind you, like I said, my best friend is 8 months pregnant. We're definitely not on anything. So, we're keeping it down, just trying to like ease through and get back home. And that's when myself and the young lady, we end up bumping into each other in the alley. And when we bump into each other in the alley, it's actually her friend that started the incident. It wasn't even her. Her friend turned around and, was basically, you think you all of that? And, saying all these different things. And I'm just like, girl, whatever. Like, I don't care about that, And my best friend, her and my best friend end up, arguing. And my best friend's like, I'm just tired of you guys picking on my friend. Like, you guys always, are picking with my friend. She don't even say anything to you. And then they had a guy with them. So during this argument, her friend, the young lady's friend, lunges towards my best friend like she's gonna hit her. So I jump in front of my best friend because she's pregnant. Like, you're not gonna hit her. So she was like, well, I'll hit you. And I was like, and if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. And she literally swung, and that's all I can remember. And we end up fighting. And during the fight, I was carrying something on me to protect me because I had already been warned. Now, prior to this incident, I was already warned that I was supposed to get my face cut. I guess the guy was supposed to hold me down and they were supposed to cut my face. That's the information I got. So I started carrying something on me to protect me, not intending for, things to go further the way that they did, but it was just basically to protect me and to keep this from happening to me. And during the time, it was so much melee going on. And I just remember we fell to the ground, and then the fight was broken up. My best friend helped me get all of my groceries and stuff because all my groceries were all strewn out over the alley. We picked up everything, but then I noticed like I was like really wet. So I'm like, I'm running home like, something's not right. So I call when I run in the house, my grandmother sees me, she calls the police, and then the police come and they get me. I get to the station, they're asking me all these questions. I don't know what's going on. And then I asked, can I call home? And they said yes. And when I called home, my stepmom was there, and she was like, Toya, has anyone told you anything? And I was like, no. And she was like, the young lady didn't make it. And I'm like, what? Like, no, this is not real. Like, what do you mean didn't make it? Like, what are you saying? And she basically told me what I did. And I couldn't believe it because that was never my intention. And I went into this whole panic because I'm just like, I don't even know what happened. I don't even know why I'm here. I don't like why. What did I do? What did I do to cause this? Like, I still to this day have never gotten a clear answer on what it was about me that made them so upset that they wanted to beat me up constantly all the time. Like, it's very frustrating because I'm very connected at home, and I love being back home, and I love my friends. And I feel like dealing with me, people have to make a choice, and they shouldn't have to. But that was never my intention. But at the same time, at some point, you have to stick up for yourself. And if I'm fighting 2 weeks postpartum after having a baby, 3 people basically, because my best friend is 8 months pregnant, what can she really help me do? So I'm fighting 3 people. One of them is a guy. And I'm 5'2", and at the time I'm probably like 100 pounds soaking wet. And
what
to this day,
ultimately, and I don't mean to cut you off, man. Ultimately, what were you charged with?
Well, they charged me with first degree premeditated murder, and the stories, just the transcripts the statements that they had. Basically, by the end of my trial, both of the eyewitnesses for the prosecution were impeached. They would have actually, the judge literally said that he would have put them in jail if they weren't juvenile.
Wow. So evidently you end up being adjudicated, or you was in adult court?
Yeah, they ended up charging me with involuntary
So you ended up being convicted.
manslaughter.
So you ended up being convicted for involuntary manslaughter in adult court.
Yeah.
Wow. At 18 years old.
18 years old, 2 weeks after having a baby, I was literally still stitched up.
Wow.
Oh man, that's cold.
Being bullied all your life, mostly half of your school life you're bullied, and when you decide to fight back, wow.
Man, that's
Uh,
it's deep. It's really deep, man. You know.
so how much
Yeah.
time did you end up receiving?
I ended up getting 4.5. The judge gave me 4.5 years.
Mm.
But I came home early on good behavior. I stayed in school the whole time I was going away. So what ended up happening was my time, I was getting good time, and my good time ended up overriding the time that I was there. So I became like immediate release. So I did 6 months in the county jail waiting trial, and then I did just a year in prison.
Okay.
Who took care of the baby while you was gone?
My stepmother did.
Uh,
Yeah, she jumped in like you would not believe. Like everybody was so supportive. Like I was, if I didn't have my family, I would have crashed and burned. But not even, it's so crazy because when you go to those type of places, they already know what you did before you get there. So I never forget, like, it was the young lady was a gangster. She was a gangster disciple. So while I'm there, everyone is like, in the intake area, it's like, they probably gonna holler at you when you get down there. They probably gonna holler at you when you get down there. I'm like, what do you mean holler at you? Well, it's certain people that, caught it for certain gangs in these areas. So they were telling me that the person that I guess ran in jail for the gangster disciple female was going to basically, come and check me about what happened, right? Because it was against one of her members. And I'll never forget it. I was in my room and I had a white girl for a roommate at the time. So she was a complete punk. So as soon as, the young lady came to the door, she was like, okay, I'll leave, So she left me in there. And the young lady came in and she closed the door and she turned my chair around and she sat down. She was like, tell me what happened. I want to hear what happened from you. And I remember telling her, and we're talking and stuff. And ever since then, she was my angel. Like I never had one problem. She told me, she was like, there comes a time in your life. She was like, it's just like family. Just, they're our family, we love them, but that doesn't always mean they're right. And she was like, I would tell you, like I would tell my own daughter, you're supposed to stick up for yourself. Because if you don't, no one else will.
When you told me, when you made the statement, she became my angel, the first thought in my mind was right is right and wrong is wrong. That's the first thought came in my mind. Was right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yeah. She was my play mother. Like she literally made sure I mean, when I tell you, she was beyond a play mother. I'm talking about to the extent of making sure that, I was doing my homework, make sure that you're washing your clothes at this time. Don't get caught in that washing machine. You don't want to do anything to jeopardize you get home to that baby. And she kept me on that, path.
What's
like,
her name? What's her name? What's her name?
Her name is Patricia.
Shout out to Patricia. She's a Daniel. Yeah, she was a Daniel in the lines then. Yeah, God, God, he needs Daniels. He used them in prison.
It seemed like you went through a lot of trauma just in order to find somebody that kind of really just fell in love for you, that understood you. And it's a sad case to see that person came to you while you was already in the position that you was in. Because if that person would have came to you earlier, I feel like a lot of things would have never happened. But
man, things I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that. So you do your time, you come home, you make parole, you come home to your baby. What steps do you take to make life different?
I just focused on just staying out of the way. When I came home, my youngest son's father and I ended up basically getting back together. We dated prior to me moving away, but when I moved away, we lost touch, and then all of these things happened. And I'll never forget, he found out that I was home from the young lady's best friend's mother is the one that told him that I was home. And he went to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother, you know, she knew him. So she told him where I was. And he came to my stepmom's house, and he basically was like, you know, you good. Go anywhere you want, do whatever you want. I got you. Nothing's gonna happen to you. And nothing happened to me. Nor did I, let me just say this. I'm still a humble person. So it wasn't like I was, you know, out like, yeah, you know, I'm out here. That's not the case. I still carried myself with some type of respect, because at the end of the day, regardless to whatever happened, that was still someone's daughter, and she still deserved that respect. So I'm not going to talk down about her. I'm not going to discuss anything. It's no one's business. You know, the intimate, you know, details at that time. My thing is that I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to do the things that I want to do now as, you know, a 20 going on 21-year-old woman. And if anyone is coming around and you're not with that agenda, then you have to move around, because I'm not here to try to make myself the good guy, make her the bad guy, or even speak about what happened. I'm just here to raise my son and be able to come and go as I please, because I'm not going to run from anyone. And that's something that I made my mind up about prior to coming back home, prior to catching my case, that I was going to stand my ground. I wasn't running anymore, and I'm not going to take anything from anyone. So if you come over here, I'm going to defend myself. If you stay over there, then we're good.
You see what the world will do to a lamb? Do you see what the world will do to a lamb? You was once a lamb. You was once a lamb. Now listen to the lion. I used to always tell my homeboys, say, man, don't teach your son how to fight. Man, don't do that. Let the world show him. Let the world teach him when he needs to know how to fight. But as soon as he could stand up, we was teaching him how to fight. How to fight. What about the kids that don't know how to fight? When he started going to school, all he know how to do is fight. So he gonna start fighting. This the world we live in. I come from love. He come from hate. He come from abuse, and we playing together. Which one becomes the prey? Which one become the predator? The one that come from love become prey when he playing with kids that come from hate. Man, it's a sad story. But on the flip side, you're so empathetic. Even though you were the victim from start to finish. You're very empathetic, but you don't see yourself as a victim. You don't remain in a victim stance. So to me, I see a young lady who's been empowered by life experiences, not anyone who's been defeated. So right now you're in school, right?
Yeah.
And what's your major? I'm saying, where are you in school? What you junior, senior? You just getting in? Where are you?
Well, in June, I'll be graduating with my associates. I'm still an undergraduate, though. I'll just have an associate's in business administration, but I do intend on going further with my education. I was speaking with Dr. O, and she was, you know, giving me some good information.
Wonderful lady. Yes, ma'am. Wonderful.
Because I feel like if I'm not of service, then I'm wasting my time. There are so many young people out here that really, and sometimes I feel like because of everything I've been through and just the nature of it, I've held my story back, and I could have helped someone possibly long ago, but I had to mature myself in this area and also be comfortable enough, because how can I tell someone that they are, you know, better than what people say about them if I don't believe it?
Yeah. So right now, we got a little child going through the same thing in middle school, going through the same thing you went through. What would you tell them? I
would tell them to first let someone know what's going on. make sure that they tell a parent. And if their parents aren't parents, find someone, a mentor, someone that you can trust to sit down, because hurt people hurt people. And there could be a good possibility that that person is going through things. Like Charleston said earlier, when I go home, if I'm going home and I'm going home to love, but someone else is going home and they're being molested and things like that, we don't know what happens to people when that door closes. So it could be that, and because they feel like I don't have any control over my life at home, but I can control this situation. So I'm going to pick on you because I'm being bullied. Now I can bully you and I feel stronger because I'm a victim. Now I have a victim. And that can be something to help them cope. We need to be able to have someone be there. If my grandparents didn't love me, I don't know where I would be right now. It's the love. Like every time my heart gets split, it's the love that makes me want to patch it up and try it again. And when I see certain people that are in positions that I feel like, I can admire, or I can look up to, and then they're just full of it, I'm like, this is why we're on this hamster wheel and we're not getting anywhere. Yep. Because everybody's in it for the show or the money grab, but no one's really in it for the youth, for the kids. These kids are feeling abandoned.
My mother told me Jesus didn't invest in buildings. He invested in people. Everybody else invested in buildings, the church, the pastor, that made man. Jesus invested in people. Is what my mother always reminded me. So she was always a people's person, servicing and investing in other people. Man, we can get all the reparations in the world, but if we all still in pain, we just go buy guns and turn on each other with them. We go buy hair. We're not gonna build playgrounds. We're not gonna build water parks. We're not gonna build skating rinks. We go party with the reparations, and our children won't have a future. And they're 100% of the future. And right now it looks bleak, right? So just think about, you went through that, and what we see on television now and on Instagram and social media sites. Man, the bullying is 50 times as worse than what we can imagine as adults.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What I want to say?
Is. I've my sons have they went through it, and like I said, fortunately, I living here in Southern California, my sister, her husband and his friends, they kind of like build like a little community around my sons, so they had outlets to go. If something was going on, they had someone that they can go and tell. But at the same time too, it's a lot of gang culture. So you're dealing with that monster,
Yeah.
So I'm very well connected either way it goes. Like I can literally, pull up anywhere in South Central Los Angeles, sit on top of the hood of the car and just kick it. I'm just that type of person. And I think because I have that personality, it's put my sons in a fortunate position, because if someone sees them that knows me, they're like, hey, your mom don't play that. Come on. It's gonna take you home.
Let me just say this. The world is gonna treat children according to who their mother and their father is, good or bad.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
So in closing, what would you say to a bully? What would you say to a bully with all the experience that you have going through what you've gone through? What would you say to a bully?
I would tell a bully that first and foremost, someone loves you. Talk to someone. Even if I'm that someone, I want to understand. I don't want to hear you to respond. I don't want to hear you to tell you what to do. I want to hear you so that I can understand. Because you matter. Being a bully they're normally the biggest victim in the situation.
And I'm
I just,
happy you said that, Mom. Wow. Boy, I'm happy. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just so happy that you just said what you just said. Because people don't even understand. The bully might be going through more pain than we ever know. So just being able to conversate, just with you being quiet, could have saved that bully life. Could have saved the bully. Because sometimes dealing with the bully, man, the bully going through so much at home, going through so much molestation. But that bully gotta let that energy out. And who the bully gonna let the energy out on? You.
The person that want to be their
You.
friend.
And all you want to do is say, I understand. But all they want to do is say, you don't understand. You got everything. I got nothing. I got nothing. You got everything. How can you understand? So I just, just go ahead. I just really
The world needs to hear your story.
The
Mr.
world,
Yeah,
the world.
They need to hear your story. I'm glad that you graced this platform with it. I'm very, very often I'm at a loss for words. But you kind of left me speechless tonight. My mind is I don't think we address bullying enough in the black community. I don't think our children are equipped to I'm not gonna say defeat the bully, but overcome the bully. Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't think our children aren't equipped enough, and I can't imagine my daughter having to have walked in your shoes, and at the end up in prison. I couldn't imagine that. Yeah, I couldn't. So God bless the child that can hold its own. And you had to go hold your own in prison. Coming from love. Yeah, coming from love. Which I know can be a hard task. So I appreciate you, sister, for coming on here and sharing your story with the world. And displaying and not only that, but just displaying the level of empathy that you have for your victim. So that's very admirable.
Yeah, I definitely I thank you. I thank you for having me. And it reminds me of a very famous line that a poet said. He said, Jay-Z did that, so hopefully you don't have to.
Already.
And I hope that, my story and everything I've been through and going forward, I can help somebody so that they don't have to.
Did you ever stop being nervous throughout the interview?
I did.
I see you loosen up. Yeah, I started to tap, dude, look, we gotta lose, dude, we gotta. But no, sister, we appreciate it. This was a great episode of the new game-related podcast. So y'all keep subscribing and tuning in and download the podcast, man. We love it.
And keep on getting quality game and keep on getting heartfelt game. Game that's not just about, getting you through materialistic things, but to get you through life. You know what I'm saying? So when we say that we are a different kind of podcast, we mean we're a different kind of podcast because we really got a certain kind of purpose, man. So Toya, I thank you for coming. Nice meeting you. Hopefully, we can get you down this way.
Thank you, Dr. O, for getting on the show.
You can start doing a lot of work with these
Yes, we know you, Dr. O.
Yeah. All right, boss man, we out.
Yeah, we out here, man.
Say, Wayne, what's up, baby? What you think, Miss Toya?
I just got a text message that I did an excellent job, so I think I did good.
Yeah, you did a great job, man. Yes, ma'am.
Nah, real talk. Yeah, everybody on here is talking about how good you did.
Break down crying.
Love you, Doctor.
Yeah, mine jumping now. Look, mine jumping now.
Yeah. Yeah, they was deep. Yeah, we needed this. We needed
What'd you
this.
say, Wayne?
Y'all had a titty baby here.
We did.
Yeah, my girl was just thinking, wiping her eyes.
Yes, somebody done cried.
Yeah, I wanted
Man,
to
somebody
cry.
done cried, Tony.
Yeah, man. So I'll call you here shortly once we get everything wrapped up, Miss Toy.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
All right, have a blessing.
Yeah, she need a book.
Yeah, she showed it. Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, she need more than
She
the
need a
book.
book, boy.
Dude, this was a powerful show.
Yeah, she need more than the book, boy. Cause the word either, man. Cause we don't have a lot of people to really talk to the girls no more, man.
No, we ain't got
going through
nobody
that.
talk to the girls no more.
They going through that, bro. Like they going through that right now. That's why you gotta always, you gotta look at. That's why you gotta look at them babies, them girls, and look at them.
Yeah.
Look at them. When they start going through, you want to see the transformation.
Yeah.
Like what's going on?